Hi, everybody, and welcome to our presentation, How AI Moderation is Redefining Honesty in Consumer Research. I'm Quirk's editor, Joe Ridholm. Thanks for joining us today. Just a quick reminder that you can use the chat tab if you'd like to interact with other attendees during the discussion. And you can use the Q&A tab to submit questions to the presenters, and we'll get to as many as we have time for at the end. Our session today is presented by Bolt Insight. Enjoy the session.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ester Marchetti. I'm a co-founder and head of innovation at Bolt Insight. And today we'll explore how AI moderation is not just a trend, but a pivotal shift that's redefining honesty, empathy, and depth in consumer research. And I'm joined today by Caro, Managing Director of Human.Plus. Caro, over to you.
Thank you very much, Esther. Very happy to be here. I'm very excited to share as well one of the case studies that we have had in our strong and lasting partnership with Marchetti AI. We are Human.Plus. We are a next-gen insight and innovation company tapping into different methodology to make sure we understand like emotions, drivers, desires, and triggers that helps us understand the why behind the what and really what shape people's behavior.
Wonderful, Carol. Thank you so much for being here. So, at the heart of consumer understanding lies conversation. I hope you will agree with me. Not just what people say, but how they say it and what they truly mean. So, why honest response are the holy grail of qualitative research? It's because that really makes us understand why they are doing what they're doing. But there is a honesty paradox. People want to be truthful, but they fear judgment. As a former client, consumer connection was everything. I loved speaking to people, visiting their homes, championing real consumer closeness, because it was not just about insight, it was about empathy, nuance, and the everyday realities behind behavior. There was that real world perspective when I would go and meet some of the consumers I was serving as a client. Going into their lives, understanding their reality, their setup, how their kitchen was laid out, was so eye-opening in understanding how they will relate with the product that I was working on. And also I was trusting interpreters and translators to bridge the gap between data and emotion to help us as brands stay really human. So great quality research was so vital to really understand and feel with consumers. But there were some problems sometimes because it was not always so possible for all projects. There are some problems that market research face because despite best intention, there are some challenges when it comes to interviews. And I'm going to go through some of this with you. Social desirability bias. Often people tailor their response based on what they think their interlocutor would like to hear. They try to filter what they say through what is socially acceptable or expected rather than what they really believe or do. And that leads to filter less authentic insight, especially in interviews where they feel watched or evaluated. There is a fear of judgment when topics are personal, taboo, or emotionally charged. They might hold back out of fear of being judged. And this might be conscious or they might not. And this discomfort really limits their willingness to share openly, especially in face-to-face setting. And there is some limited consistency at scale. Human-led interviews can vary in tone, in approach, and interpretation from one moderator to another. They're also resource-heavy, which makes it difficult to reach large, diverse sample consistently, especially across markets or sensitive topics. So given that, why and when can AI help? Imagine an interviewer that doesn't judge, that doesn't get tired, and that asks just the right follow-up questions every time. That's what AI can do. Is not really at all about replacing human. It's about removing barrier. And what are the areas in which AI can help supporting what we do as human? For example, by providing real anonymity. We know that when the AI is on the other side of the conversation, people, they feel less scared. They don't feel judged as much. And so they are able to open up sometimes more when the topic is taboo. It helps with scalability by offering thousands of in-depth interviews, not only a handful. It can provide asynchronous flexibility when it gives people some place to think and reflect before responding, and doesn't get fatigued. So it can provide some consistency when analyzing thousands of hours of transcripts. So when we launched Bolchat AI, we were thinking about an end-to-end qualitative engine for qualitative at scale. From dynamic discussion guide to global recruitment to AI-led interviews in local language, it's QualiScale reimagined. And the way it works, it can really help you every step of the way. From the start, when based on your prompt, so your target audience definition and your research objective, it can create a discussion guide, a conversational one, tailored to your objectives and available also in 50 plus local languages. To the recruitment of engaged participants, they will be connected for a one-to-one in-depth 30 minutes interview that has been moderated by the AI. So our AI moderator conducts these one-to-one interviews with hundreds of participants in multiple countries and local languages, so at scale, with quite a sophisticated method in which the AI has been trained based on real human conversation, so it knows how to interact with respondents and how to probe deeper. And then finally to the report. When analyzing all of those transcripts, Bolchat AI generates bespoke reports in less than 24 hours. Based on what I was mentioning before, our AI moderator can really help and support human researcher in quite a different way. On one side, this is not a generic chatbot. It's not just a technology that anybody can replicate, but it was trained on hundreds of real interviews by experienced moderators. It combines really AI precision with qualitative intuition, so it's methodologically rigorous and emotionally intelligent. It also has a dual agent moderation, so an AI moderator that will follow the discussion guide and an AI referee that will check every single answer that respondents give, and then telling the AI moderator to probe deeper when the response is too short or not specific enough or has not been understood. That reacts to what the respondents shares, both in terms of text, voice, videos, and more, and pictures as well, and then has a two-way discussion to really uncover deeper insights. That probes deeper at several levels, also when it detects some strong emotion from the respondent that we need to dive deeper into. And that is fundamentally centered on a human in the loop. So not only it has been trained on human chat, but we keep training it every day, every week with new conversation and with rigorous human quality check made by experienced researchers. I also have a video here to show a bit more of the respondent experience.
Since taking these vitamins, I definitely say my body feels more healthy. I used to feel quite fatigued in the morning, and like I said earlier, I used to get headaches quite often. So my last purchase, I actually went in store to Boots. I'm very lucky that I actually live quite close to my local store. So it's sort of now in my routine. Whenever I notice that I've only got 2 or 3 tablets left, I will actively make the choice to go down to my local shop, and I will purchase a new bottle of the daily vitamins that I use.
So in terms of use cases, from early stage idea testing to quote collection, market exploration, trade storytelling, and understanding of creative, our clients are using Bullshit AI to make better, faster decisions with higher quality across the innovation and marketing lifecycle. So just something to think about for a moment. We have seen hype cycle before, but this time AI is not a gimmick. It's utility driven, is constantly improving, is already embedded in our daily work life and in everything that we do. At the moment, we are in a surging real world adoption moment, but soon there will be AI agents and autonomous workflow coming. And actually, agentic moderation is already a thing, and it was embedded into what Bullshit AI does from day one with our AI moderator and AI referee. Companies are working towards AGI. Is plausible, still speculative, but we can really think about the AI improving more and more and being able to handle more tasks independently. So really, this is only the beginning of this journey. And really, if some of you have seen the movie Her, we are not that far from those moments. Something that really stopped me in my tracks, and where I saw this information that you can see on the slide here, where the key use case for using generative AI is changing from just more utilitarian task of generating idea to really providing emotional support and connection, even therapy and companionship coming up at place one, followed by organizing my life and finding purpose. So the way respondents and people are engaging with AI has already changed. And so we can expect them to be more and more comfortable with engaging with AI. And at Bullshit AI, we disclose from the start that is going to be an AI moderator interviewing them. And that really helps people to open up without fear of judgment. So AI alone gives you speed, but AI with human gives you imagination, moral judgment, intuitions. And that's why it's so important when tools like ours, or what Human.Plus does, when tools are built with human and AI at the core. When we built our AI moderator, the point was not to replace human, but it was to extend human empathy at scale. This moderator doesn't just ask questions, it listens, it empathizes, it plays back what respondents say and creates a connection and help them open up more as they don't feel that on the other side there will be a judgmental person, but they feel there will be a neutral entity that will help them open up and connect. So it can really help unlocking honesty, nuance, even with some targets and topic that might be taboo. So I wanted now to give the stage to Carol, so you can explain a bit more about the journey of Human.Plus with Bullshit AI. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Esther. So we have had, since the first day actually that we met with Bullshit AI, kind of an alignment on purpose, because we are all about like really understanding people. And, you know, it's all about, yes, AI as our superpower, but at the end, it's about like really leading with that human intelligence, that empathy to really understand people where they are. So this is just an example of one of our latest partnerships. We were working at Human.Plus with a cancer center, actually, like in New York, with a very specific task to understand Black and Hispanic populations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, especially when it comes to cancer, their cancer journey, you know, their drivers and barriers to consider like cancer centers, and even like to really understand, you know, what access to cancer, what cancer excellence means for them. So we did a lot of work through our own like AI powered proprietary data, really tapping into what was like the spontaneous peer-to-peer chatter already online about, you know, like cancer, their emotions mapping, you know, like their triggers in terms of like seeking care, etc. But we felt that we were missing, you know, like a little bit of the piece of our insight journey that was really understanding and probing people. And in our methodology, we usually don't recruit anybody. We don't ask any questions. You know, we really go into it about discovery, but sometimes there are some hard questions where we need to actually ask people. Now, when we want to ask people, actually, healthcare is a very difficult topic because even when we recruit people, there is the biases that Esther was talking about, and especially when it comes to healthcare in the US and Hispanic and the Black community, especially being so trustful, of the system. Sometimes they don't really want to tell you exactly how they feel because they don't want even their opinion to shape, a system that works against them. So what was really interesting was to be able to work with Borchat AI to remove all of these different barriers, because the interaction that our respondents had, through the platform was really like consistent. The fact that it was as well, like through those AI moderators, like remove some kind of, I would say, like biases in answering. And we got some amazing data, some amazing insights. And that really helped us to actually use all those different quotes to complement like all of our insight journey and to really shape the strategy that we were leading with. So this was like an amazing case study for us, because that was removing like all the different barriers that we usually see. And on top of that, those cultural barriers of like the difficulty to engage in like healthcare topics, like through the lens of the cultural background of Hispanic and Black communities. So what we really appreciated, for example, was the ability to be very iterative in the process. So many times in our methodology that we use, we like to like drill into like our data set to really understand the why behind the one and keep on iterating, those whys. And this is where really we saw like the strength of like the Borchat AI platform, with all of those like moderators that has, like all of the smart probing type of capabilities that helps us to go even deeper, so that people could like really open up in a way that they felt really safe. And especially when it comes to cancer, it's a very emotionally charged, like topic. So to feel safe, to be emotionally vulnerable in this conversation was really the key for us to unlock. And I have to say that's with Borchat AI in the platform, we really managed to get to that space and get those really like insightful conversations. In terms of synergy and scalability, what was really interesting for us is the fact that it's very difficult to recruit people, like that are at the very specific like stage on their journey. So here we're looking at people who had a cancer diagnosis, or who had like somebody like in their family that had a cancer diagnosis. We were like from the Black and Hispanic community, who were living, like in New York predominantly, but also New Jersey and Connecticut. So it was very important for us like to find like the right solution that could help us to get to those conversations that matter. And at the same time, to be able to do that in absolutely no time, like just a couple of days at maximum, because we were just like running against the clock. And this is where I think for my entire team, like the Borchat AI platform like blew our mind in this ability to get as granular as we usually have our standards, like really looking for that emotional and very like a deep, rich conversation, but in just like a couple of days. So here you have some of the key quotes, and there were like too many to actually put on this slide, but I would just like read one of them from a male African-American, that was age 56, that was saying, "My cousin was diagnosed with breast cancer and it got me pretty hard. She owned her own business in hairstyling and used to let me work there when I was younger. She recently passed away because of it. So now I get breast screening when I'm supposed to do, and I don't put my family through the heartbreak we have already experienced losing my cousin." So this ability to get, like really close and personal with people and to really open up about cancer was really a differentiating factor for us. And of course, what was really interesting, through the platform is this ability to really guide the conversation and get the answers to some of the big questions that we had, on that brief and that project. So one of them was really understanding, like that journey, but as well, like what motivates that journey towards like treatment and seeking care. And especially within that overall like mistrust, and the difficulty of access of the healthcare system in the US, really we could understand how trust and the human connection were actually the way to unlock that kind of connection and that access to care, like for Hispanic and Black communities. Another one important insight as well for us was really to understand, what do people decode as accessible care, and when we talk about personalized care. And so, because when you talk about access, usually people think about health, health insurance. But for us to be able to understand that access is actually about, being able to speak my language, being able to sit down with me, being able to understand me as a whole person, and to treat me not as a diagnosis, not as a case, but as an entire person with her own story, was very important. So that's why, I can't rave more about our partnership, because it gave us a lot of a beautiful insight that were really important for us in our discovery and in shaping the strategies to really create impact with our client.
Thank you so much, Carol. It was such an incredible project to work on. And thank you so much for your partnership. So just a couple of things before we close. I just wanted to mention also our new features, our dynamic persona, because when we created this tool, we created it basically because as former client, it's a tool that we wish we had. I know when I was a client, Quill was not just about one project. Insight was about cumulative learning. And so without some of our features like dynamic persona meta-analysis, we can reactivate all research, track shift, build a living strategy grounded in real conversation. With persona, for example, we can really drive continuous understanding. So you can ask your persona why they behave the way they do, compare across demographic, test live messages. So Marchetti can really turn your research into an always-on living conversation with your audience. And each new project adds to the ecosystem. So with every iteration, your insight stack becomes sharper, faster, more powerful. So we compound the intelligence as we go, still maintaining that incredible depth. So to close, can AI truly connect? It's a fair question, I think. But empathy doesn't mean feeling emotion. It means really creating space where others feel safe to share. And it's exactly what AI does best. It never judges, it never interrupts, and always listens. The future to us is that this is only the beginning. And AI is really evolving into a trusted listener. With scale, consistency, and sensitivity is really helping us get to truth that were previously out of reach. So that quadrangle of speed, cost effectiveness, quality, and scale at the same time. The future is not just tech-enabled, but is more humane than ever. So I'm going to close saying that we're proud to partner with over 100 global brands, already redefining how they do qualitative. So if you're curious to explore what this looks like for your team, let's chat.